Okay, you guys. Now I have things to do, so this is gonna have to be my last video. I'm gonna have to dip out on you guys for like a month, like I did last month. But I'm on the move. Honestly, you guys, there's inclement weather. I am so lucky. Like I've been on the move all day, and I'm so lucky that I broke out and headed home when I did because the weather has just got very, very shoddy. You guys know I live up in the woods. And I was like, well, what can I do, in the meantime, in between time? And I was like, I'm just going to go live early. If I have reception problems, if anything funny goes on, then just let me know. Hopefully, I don't have to stop this live and restart it. But like, I just couldn't wait. I cannot wait the extra minutes to get to my destination fully. I couldn't. I just needed to start talking to you guys now because I'm so excited. Okay. I'm so excited. Now, granted, I titled this Tick Tick Boom. Tick Tick Boom, right? Hello, Jessica. Hello, Ronald. Hello, Bewitched but not bothered. I titled this Tick Tick Boom because this is one of those topics that's going to make us go tick, 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 boom. We're going to feel some kind of way when I talk to you guys today. Don't forget, like, if I break up, you guys, like, I should have waited until I was in a stationary position, but I was just so excited to talk to you guys that I couldn't wait. So if my reception or anything gets funny, please say it in the chat so that I know and I can try to do what I can do. So hopefully that we don't have to cut this short. But you guys know that I love with a big red heart when you guys talk to me. Like, I live for your opinions, your comments. Let me say this. Y- uh, I want, if you're listening to this on the playback, please listen to the entire live because I'm going to swing around toward the middle end of this live to a concept I guarantee that 99.9999% of you have never heard. It is not often that I can say to myself that I'm going to present or we can listen to something and be like, oh, this is some stuff I've literally never heard before. I'm literally going to drop something that you've never heard articulated before, but you probably deep down in the recesses of your soul knew, right? So do stick around. I'm going to try not to make it too long. Hey, Bernard. So, anyway, I live for your comments. A lot of times, especially recently, people have been like, why are you letting this person talk? Why do they get to talk? Why do we have to listen to them? Because it is important. And honestly, there is nothing like listening to somebody who is not in agreement with you to get your mind working, to get you to articulate thoughts that you may have, but because nobody ever challenged them, you've never had to articulate them with conciseness, right? So I want to thank Simond for starting this conversation because honestly, the conversation he and I had, I told him, I was like, I'm going to make a video about this, right? He came in my comment section. I was like, that I'm going to make a video about this. Okay. Because where our conversation ended is the number one point that I want you guys to remember when we talk about socio-political revolution. Hey, D-Red. Okay, so Simon, I'm going to read it. I'm not going to put it on the screen. I'm going to read it. So please pay attention to what I'm saying. Pay attention to the words because you guys aren't going to get to see it. So Simon said to my video where I was talking about, male domination and, women's position in society and how we get our rights and like not feeling some kind of way against women. He said, I'll tell you what, Irene, if 3 of these 5 Black men, and then he names the Black men. Now listen to the 5 that he names because this is going to be relevant later. Robert F. Smith, David L. Stewart, Michael Jordan, Kanye West, or John Thompson, the chairman of Microsoft, If they come and say that it's time to get it cracking and go to war, I'm with it. Okay. So he's like, if even three of those five dudes says that we need to have a revolution, we will have a revolution. I will join you. Right. He says these are the four wealthiest Black men in the country and the chairman of a $1 trillion corporation. It doesn't even have to be all five, just three of them. No disrespect, sister, but I trust those brothers' assessment of how much opportunity there is for Black men. My reading of those brothers is that they weren't allowed to do anything. Seems like they worked extremely hard. I'm sure you know, Irene, that the founding fathers were wealthy men. They fought the American Revolution. They decided that the situation was untenable, that was so untenable that they were willing to give up their wealth, families, and lives. So this is the argument that he made to me. Because for those of you who didn't listen to that other live, some people thought I was talking about Black women's submission or Black men's position in society, and I was just talking about revolution. I just was taking a conversation that we were having in the Black community, and I was walking you guys down the road, the mental road with me to revolution, right? And so Simon knows that that's my vibe. So he didn't even address all the gender stuff I talked about. He only addressed the core point of my conversation, which was revolution, because he's on point. Thank you, Simon. Right? But mind you, Simon and I do not agree. Okay? We do not agree. Now, I want to go through his comments. Number one, I'm not even going to address the part where it talks about the founding fathers of this country. Those men were barbarians, okay? They raped and pillaged and mistreated the natives, and they did not end slavery, even though they could, and they owned slaves overwhelmingly. So whatever the founding fathers did is irrelevant to me, which brings me to point two. The founding fathers had money, honey, and people who are in power and have money, they struggle with each other for power. They struggle with each other for power. And that's what I told him in my response. I was like, the 1% are never about revolution. That's not what they do. People who have power, they don't try to revolt. Why would you revolt against some stuff that you're winning in? That doesn't make sense. They only fight for power. All right? The top 1% are not going to tell you to have a revolution. They fight amongst themselves for the top dog spot. So the founding fathers could not compete in Europe. So they moseyed their way over into America and they slammed down some people that they could destroy, right? They enslaved some people that they could control because they weren't about to control their authorities. So they left an entire continent and took somebody else's land and was like, since I can't dominate in my country, I'm going to come and dominate all of you. So let's be very clear about the founding fathers, okay? So that was essentially, my response to him. I also pointed out that I really don't view him as a socio-political revolutionary. He's happy to live in the system as it is. So although Simone and I talk, it's important that on my channel, everybody does not agree with my points. Simone is a perfect example. Simone and I have been talking for 2 years or something now? Over 2 years. He's never really agreed with anything I've said. Okay? Hardly ever. But we still have conversations. And y'all are about to reap the benefits of our disagreement. Okay? And I pointed out the fact that he would make a list of 5 Black men that were successful. The fact that he has to make that list proves my point. But let's go to what he said. Now, just follow me down the road. Don't get bored here because we're going to get to the real point of this whole thing, the part of this that matters, okay? He said, but the question is, why are they uncommon? So he's saying, if you're saying that these Black men are needle in a haystacks, Irene, why are they uncommon? Are they uncommon because they have uncommon merit? So they're willing to work harder than everybody else in the Black community? Or are they uncommon because the white supremacy selection committee picked them? So he's being cheeky. That's all right. I got cheeky back. I got you, Simone. I know how to be cheeky too. So he's saying, do they work harder than other Black people? Or did a committee of white people crown them the honorary Black person in the room? Right? He said that essentially he was being sarcastic. He facetiously asked, right, if I would stop, if I recommended that everybody just stop studying and working. And he basically insinuated that I said the affirmative. But you guys know I didn't say that. I didn't tell people to stop working. I said you need to focus on bigger things. Don't focus on your job, right? You focus on nation building. You focus on conquering. You focus on building institutions. Don't focus on getting a promotion at work, right? So he said, he misinterpreted what I said, but I don't know, Simone, how you misinterpreted what I said, because I gave examples of micro and macro thinking. I said a job is micro thinking, institution building is macro thinking, right? I said, going grocery shopping for your household and having enough food is micro thinking. Creating an agricultural system is macro thinking, right? It's still working. It's just working at a different level. But here's the most important thing that he said, right? And this is the part that I want to get to. He said, I'm really hoping you'll answer this question. If the most successful Black men in the country do not believe that it is time to take up arms, hear what he said, because this is very important. He said, if the most successful Black men in the country do not believe that it is time to take up arms, why do you? Right? I think I can say pretty confidently that Black men as a collective are not on the revolutionary piece. Why aren't you, and by extension, Black women, taking direction from us? Y'all do not shoot the messenger. These are not my words. This is Simone's words. Simone is a Black man, you guys. So I don't want anybody coming for me. Do not come for me. These are not my words. Now I have a 50% Black male audience. Do not come for me. These are not my words. So when I respond to his question that he specifically asked me to respond to, I don't want anybody mad at me. Do not get mad at me. Simone came to me. He said, I am hoping that you will answer this question. I'm going to answer the question. I don't want anybody. It's not tick, tick, boom up in here. Do not be like a short fuse up in here. Okay? I was asked a question by somebody that I've been talking to for years who is a Black man. So I do not want anybody coming for me when I give my answer. Okay? Let me repeat what he said, because I don't want, look, you know how you guys are. You know that if I'm asked a question and then I keep it real, some people get in their feelings. Do not get in your feelings, because this was not my idea. Okay? Simone asked me a question. All I'm doing is answering. Okay? He said, I'm really hoping you will answer this question. If the most successful Black men in the country do not believe it is time to take up arms, why do you? I think I can say pretty confidently, he said it, not me, y'all. He said it. I didn't say it. He said, I think I can say pretty confidently that Black men as a collective are not on the revolutionary piece. Why aren't you, and by extension, Black women, taking direction from us? Like, why are y'all talking about revolution if we're not talking about revolution? That's what he's saying. It's clearly not the assessment of these men, that other Black people are impeded from success. Now, all right, we're going to back it up. But let me finish his question. He said, let me ask in a different way, because he wants to make sure that I understand him. He said, let me ask in a different way. If I am the leader of a gang that is at war with another gang, and we come up with a peaceful settlement, he's making an analogy to the Black man over the Black woman's places in white society with being the leader of a gang. I promise you, don't come for me, you guys. Do not, men. Those of you who have watched enough of my content know that I love our people. I'm not picking sides. I love Black men. I love Black women. Now, you guys are hearing this question, so do not come for me, because I'm going to answer it. And the answer is not going to make anybody happy who is not vibing with where I'm headed with this. He said, let me ask a different way. If I'm the leader of a gang that is at war with another gang, and we come up with a peaceful settlement that I and the soldiers can live with, why would my wife have a problem with it? Okay, are we all clear on the question? Is everybody clear on the question? Is everybody clear on the question? Men, more than the women. Men, you guys heard the question, right? The men heard the question. I'm going to answer the question, and we're not going to attack Irene. We're not going to attack me for anything that I'm about to say, right? Because all I'm doing is I'm answering a question by a Black man who knows me well enough, because we've been talking for 2 years, okay? His question is typed out in the comment section. I'm not making this up. Just don't come for me. Don't come for me, Argentina, okay? Don't do it. He said, y'all, he said, I'm really hoping you will answer this question. Those were his words. He said, I'm really hoping you will answer this question. I'm going to answer it. Okay. All right. I just want to establish this, because nobody's going to say I'm starting, I'm not with the gender war stuff. I'm not with the gender war stuff. So anything I say can and will not be used against me in the court of Black men law. Don't do that to me. That's not right. You guys can't be asking questions and then expecting honesty and truthfulness and then, trying to chop my head off later. Don't do it, please. Okay. Be merciful. I just did a whole live about how you guys are merciful, so don't come for me. Okay. All right. Whew. All right. Let's talk. Well, Oprah is a woman, so why would she be going to war with a bunch of men? That doesn't make sense. Oprah is a whole woman. Why would you compare Jay-Z, which is a grown man, with Oprah, who's a woman? That doesn't make sense. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What is a woman going to do? Am I about to go to war with a bunch of dudes? No, I'm not going to. So you shouldn't even bring us into the conversation, I think. Right? It is about gender, because women don't fight men. Arms of women don't get into fisticuff fights with men. That's not what we do. We're women. Can you imagine us out there on our periods, pregnant? Half of us are hecka tiny. We're half the size of everybody we're fighting. It wouldn't even make sense. That's not even a realistic visual. We don't fight. We don't fight like that. I'm still trying to figure out, because women weren't allowed in the United States military in fighting positions. I'm still curious, with women soldiers who are sent into the field, what do you do about your menstrual cycle? Like, is that like a problem? That's a concern. Like, it used to be we weren't even allowed there. So come on now. Now we know that we should not be comparing Jay-Z and Oprah. Come on. That's not fair. Now, if you expect Jay-Z and Oprah to do the same thing during a battle, then that's like a whole nother conversation, right? All right, so let's get into my answer, because we've established that Irene is just answering a question. I'm just answering a question, right? So let's talk about it. Number one, I think this is really important to say. My personal views are reflective of the men that are surrounding me. Okay? Remember to let me know because I'm on the move if anything happens. Oh, you're referring to the man statement. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I apologize. Um, my personal views are reflective of the men surrounding me. You guys have heard Mr. talk. He's revolutionary in his mindset. The men that I am surrounded with are revolutionary. So I am a reflection of my male leadership. Okay. When you guys hear me talk, I'm not reflective of men that I've never met. I'm reflective of the men that I know. And these are men that build institutions. Okay. These are men who have mentoring agencies. These are men who have educational institutions. These are men who work with large, like, for example, Mr. works with an entire county specifically targeting Black children, right? These are men who, right now, I have two flyers that I'm putting together with Mr. for two different Black focused events, right? On the city level, right? So these are men who do big things and they are very revolutionary in their mindset. That's who's surrounding me. I volunteer at an institution over at Ziax where a Black man started an educational institution that has students all over the country from California to New York and a student that is in Africa. So my personal viewpoints are reflective of the men around me. I have revolutionary ideologies because that's how I was raised. Those are the men that I'm surrounded with. I don't have the ideologies of men that I've never met. So no indictment can be ever made on my personal point of view because my point of view is framed by the men around me and they say revolution all day. So there you go. Okay? I'm being led by revolutionaries. So I'm a revolutionary. Okay. So I hope that that answers that question, right? So I do follow male leadership. It's just all men don't think alike, right? Some men think one way, and we're going to get to that way, and some men think another way. And the women around them will normally think the way the men think, right? All right. So the next part of it is the type of men. So he was basically like, if we come to an agreement, a peaceful agreement with a group of men that we are at war with, why wouldn't the women fall in place? This is what I had to say to that. And this is the part that's going to be triggering. And I'm about to keep it really real. Okay. Let I'm about to keep it like 10,000%. So I'm telling you, like you guys, I'm about to say some stuff that's going to be very triggering, but listen to me and listen to me really, really good. Okay. Number one, Number one, people who are striving for ultimate power and authority don't care. Hear what I'm saying. People who are willing to strive for the ultimate power and authority do not actually care about men who don't want a revolution. You guys don't matter. You don't matter. It's irrelevant. Nobody cares about you. Okay? Nobody cares. If you are a type of man, right, who is willing to build and make treaties or agreements or live peacefully with whoever is in power, then the people who are fighting to power don't care about you because you're not a problem. You're not a threat. A man who's willing to simply work and do his best within another man's system, nobody cares what you think or do because you're not a threat or a problem. More importantly, your families are not a threat and a problem because the women around you also are not going to be revolutionary, right? They're going to simply want to work within the system of whoever has power. Your children are probably not going to be revolutionary. They're also simply going to want to just be comfortable and work in the system that has power. So nobody cares if you don't want to be a revolutionary. Nobody even really wants to change your mind. Okay? Let me keep it 1,000. Can you guys hear me clearly? Am I muffled? Am I low? Am I, you guys can hear me all right, right? I hope so. Nobody cares. I'm going to tell you why nobody cares. Because if everybody in a society is a revolutionary, nobody could ever maintain power. Can you imagine if all of us wanted to be at the top of the totem pole? Like if every individual person wanted to be the king, if every single man strived for ultimate power, we would never actually have a leader. They would constantly be killing each other and fighting and stuff. In fact, the only way that power can be maintained is for the majority of men to actually not want to be in power. That's the only way that you can maintain society. You need the majority of the men to simply just want to live their best life under whoever has power. I'm not trying to overthrow you. I don't want no beef. I just want a nice car and a nice house. That's how you actually want the majority of people to be, right? You are not trying to spark revolutionary attitudes in every single man. Because if every single man wants to be the chief, we will be in perpetual war forever. You could never have a country, it would never work. So, for those men who don't want revolution, nobody cares. We are depending on most of the population simply obeying whoever has power. We are depending on most of, let me repeat this because I need y'all to hear this, because a lot of times women, especially, we get in our feelings because every man we meet doesn't want revolution. Come off of it. Back down a little bit, ladies. Because if every man wanted revolution, no man would ever be able to maintain power. So people who actually want ultimate power depend on the majority of the men, and then their women vicariously through the men, as Simone pointed out, and then their children vicariously through the man, as Simone didn't point out, but I'm about to point out. We depend on everybody under that man to not be a problem because you really don't want any smoke. You want no smoke. You know how much smoke you want? Zero smoke. And that's good because then I don't have to worry about you trying to take power from me. Okay? I only need to be concerned about the people whose power I'm trying to get. So the more of you I don't have to worry about trying to vie for power, the more secure my power will be after I take over whoever's in power. That's really the name of the game. It really is. You know, men who are willing to make a treaty with, be in agreement with, right? They just want to live a comfortable life. They just want to thrive. They just want to survive. They're not trying to rule anything. They're not trying to take over anything. People who want power, we need y'all. We need you. We need you to stay, just don't even change. Yo, stay the way you are. For real. Stay exactly how you are. That's less people that we have to worry about trying to fight off from trying to take power from us. That's less people that we have to compete with who are vying for power. I'm not trying to be shady. I'm like actually being like real, for real, for real. We got to rethink. Like I told you guys yesterday, everybody plays a position. Everybody has value. And I honestly, had Simone not posed the question to me that way, it would have never occurred for me to come on here and actually break it down this way to you guys. It would have never occurred to me to say this to you because I just thought that went without saying, right? I mean, I've alluded to it in the past. You know, most people are sheep. Most people are just going to listen to whoever has power. I've said that in the past. I don't think I've ever articulated it quite like this, right? I mean, I talked to him because had I not talked to him, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. And honestly, you guys, have you thought of it this way? Like in the chat, be honest. How many of you actually considered men who don't want to engage in revolution in the sort of light that I am speaking on now? How many of you have actually thought of it this way? Be honest. Have you ever considered it this way, that it could actually be a good thing? That there's a benefit to the majority of men not wanting to vie for power? Has anybody ever thought of it this way? Because people who will simply listen to people who are willing to vie to power are very valuable people. That's everybody in the military. Everybody in the military is not trying to overthrow the commander in chief. They obey the commander in chief. They want to listen to the commander in chief. That's why the military works. Can you imagine if every soldier wanted to be the commander in chief? Y'all, we could never have a successful war. Do you follow where I'm going with this? Do you guys follow where I'm going with this? This makes a lot of sense, right? You never thought about it this way, did you? See, this is what people confuse. People confuse that if we have a conversation about socio-political revolution, that the purpose is that every single person be a revolutionary. No, 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 no. We all cannot be revolutionaries. We all cannot be revolutionaries because it would be chaos. You need a sizable portion of the population to simply want to go along to get along. You need them to want to play it safe. You need them to be satisfied with whatever benefits and perks of society you give them. You need that to maintain peace and authority. Right? But what I don't understand is that if we can understand, if a revolutionary minded person can understand that about people who are not revolutionary minded, why do people who are not revolutionary minded not understand the adverse? You don't have to be revolutionary minded because you never want actual power, right? You're not really trying to run anything. So why don't you just leave the people alone who do want to run stuff and let them handle their business, okay? This is a conversation between the adults. Let the adults duke it out. And y'all just wait to see where the pieces fall and then continue on, with your day-to-day lives. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, because the average person who doesn't want any smoke, that makes up the majority of the population. So nobody should be angry when the average person says, I don't want any smoke. Good. I don't need the whole population trying to compete for power. That's not going to work. We can never have a sustainable kingdom like that. So good. Now I want to get into the rest of what he said, right? He brought up a council of white men. Did they pick the top 5 richest people in the country? Okay. And now he was being cheeky. Simone, I know that you were being cheeky when you said this. Because when we think about a council of white men, is there a group of white men who ultimately pick and choose who gets to move up in society? But to conclude this live, I'm going to go ahead and play the game because I thought this was a pretty interesting conversation, right? I thought this was well, that's a good point, Ronald. We do want smoke with each other, though. That's true. That's true. We do want smoke with each other. So here we go. Let's talk about the top 5 richest men in the country as Simone posed them. Let's start with Robert Smith, okay? Let's start with Robert Smith. Robert Smith, did you guys know that Robert Smith just avoided going to prison? If you guys don't know who Robert Smith is, he's the one, remember everybody was making a big deal when he paid some of the tuition money to those students? Remember him? So did you know that he's been caught up? He's a whole crook out here. Okay? I want to say 2 things that are important about Robert Smith. Number 1, Simone said that he believed in the narrative that those 5 rich men painted about the Black man's chances of succeeding in society. And on my community tab, I shared a video of Robert Smith saying that there is a such thing as institutional racism. And he even provides, so Robert Smith, the first person on Simone's list, believes in institutional racism. He thinks that that's a real thing. And he did a whole interview. I posted it to my community tab where he talks about how we can compensate for institutional racism. In fact, Robert Smith says the higher a Black man or a Black person, because he did not limit it to Black men, he said the higher a Black person gets in society, the more racism they face. Go figure that. America's Black billionaire, Robert Smith, says that there is institutional racism. He says there's corporate racism. And he actually has a plan of how people who want to be allies to Black people can help combat corporate racism. If you're interested in what he has to say, I posted the video in my community tab. So it is amazing to me that the golden boy of trying to prove that there's no such thing as institutional racism and Black men don't have any challenges other than wanting to work hard. It's amazing that he actually says that there is a challenge, that there are people trying to hold you back, and that there do need to be things set in place to compensate for the fact that there is racism, especially at the highest echelons of society. And that is a Black billionaire talking. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to take my word for it, though. Okay? You can go to the community tab and you can listen to America's Black billionaire say it for himself. So if we are to believe the richest Black men in society, well, then guess what? Robert Smith says that institutional racism and corporate racism is a thing. So you might want to stop using him as an example of working hard and making it, okay? Because Robert Smith says we need a handout. He's talking about 2% investment in Black banks from corporations. That's the mess he's on. So I don't know if all these people who are holding Robert Smith up and talking about what they think he thinks, if they saw that interview. Why don't you guys go listen to that interview? Take yourselves on over there, go to my community tab, click the interview, and watch Robert Smith explain to you how there's racism, even at his level of society, and how there's so much racism that there actually needs to be action to compensate for it. All right, so let's start there. Let's also start with the fact that Robert Smith conspired with some slimy Jewish guy to earn his first $1 billion. That is right. Robert Smith became a billionaire by breaking the law. This man literally just avoided prison. And how did he avoid prison, you ask? He avoided prison by agreeing to be a snitch. That's Robert Smith for you, okay? He believes that there is racism. He believes that we need to do things to compensate. He believes in handouts, okay, to compensate for racism. And he became a billionaire by agreeing to engage in a criminal activity. And the man that he engaged in that criminal activity with invested $1 billion in his first corporation. Invested $1 billion in the company, the major company that he owns right now. This man was made a billionaire through criminal activity. This all just blew up. If you don't believe me, go look at it for yourself. This all just blew up right now, really recently. And this man was on his way to prison until he agreed to be a snitch. So that's Robert Smith. We've talked about him. Again, I don't want anybody coming for me because these questions were posed to me. I am simply responding to the questions. The only dog I have in this race is our collective progress. So I don't want anybody coming for me, please. Don't be mad at me. Do not be mad at Irene. Then he brought up David L. Stewart. Honestly, David L. Stewart, out of all of the top 5 richest Black men in this country, I actually I respect his hustle. This is a guy who worked in a mailroom, right? Has a Black wife, and he worked his way right on up the totem pole. However, oh, wait, let's go back to Robert Smith. because we were talking about the white council. Robert Smith's first major job and where he earned that first $1 billion through criminal activity, he got that from Jewish people. He was at Goldman Sachs. So Jewish people did handpick Robert Smith. White Jewish people reached into the chocolate pool and they handpicked Robert Smith. Okay? David L. Stewart is a little bit different. Like, out of all the richest Black men in this country, I respect David L. Stewart's hustle. He really, when you talk about we started from the bottom, now we're here, that's David L. Stewart. Okay? He started from the bottom, now he's here. Okay? With his Black wife, who's his age, he's not 30 freaking years younger than him. Like, it's hard not to respect the man. Now, with that said, he's still in the Jewish pocket, okay? This is a Black man that in order to stay at that echelon of society, you do have to pander to the cause. And the cause is the cause of a nation that is not yours, okay? If you don't believe me, go check for yourself. Go check for yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. Just go look at the committees that he sits on. Go look at what he's doing with himself. He had to pay homage to the same people that run Goldman Sachs. That's just facts. That's not, don't come for the messenger, okay? David L. Stewart, who was, Michael Jordan was next on Simon's list. Okay, Michael Jordan is a horrible example because he was literally picked by a council of white men, okay? First of all, a Jewish dude owns the team that made Jordan famous. Let's start there. And a literal council of white men handpicked Michael Jordan. So remember, Simon's question was to me, is there a council of white men that are picking these dudes? And so far, there's a council of white men that are picking these dudes. Now, I'm not, again, do not shoot the messenger. This is just literally what happened, right? We know that a bunch of white dudes picked Michael Jordan and that a white Jew owns the team that made Michael Jordan famous. Like, do not come for me. Do not come for me for simply stating facts. Please, please, please. Please. Am I wrong, Kaylin? What did Jesus say about the Jews? Do you really want to go there with me? What did Jesus say about the Jews? Do you know what Jesus said about the Jews? Do you know what Jesus said about the Jews, Kaylin? You must not. Why don't you go crack open your Bible and see what Jesus had to say about the Jews? They were murderers. He called them children of Satan. What did he say about them? Don't bring up the Bible to me. Don't even press me. Everybody knows that I'm Christian. Don't try it. Because I'll do a whole Bible battles where I just bust out scriptures about the Jews. Okay? Because a person's heart that's not right, just because they slap Jew on top of their name, does not make them a good person or a child of God. Don't get it confused. That's very base thinking. Next, Kanye West. This was next on Simon's list. Kanye West. Same thing. Kanye West is an entertainer. The whole entertainment industry is ran by Jewish people. You guys know that I have a documentary coming out on this, right? It's taking me forever to research it. Like, I've been researching for months. This rabbit hole is so deep. I don't even want to edit this documentary. I can't even lie. Some of you might remember that I brought this up. You can actually see Kanye West with the white council that handpicked him because he takes pictures with them all the time. And then the last person he mentioned was Robert Thompson, who works for Microsoft, where literally an actual white council picked Robert Thompson. So I'm not even trying to be funny, but when Simone was being cheeky and asked me if white councils picked the top 5 richest Black men in the country, it just happens that white councils did pick them. It just happens that's actually what occurred. Like I said, don't shoot the messenger. That's just actually what occurred. And I did not pick this topic. This was not my idea. Please do not come down on me. Do not get mad at me. Do not say I'm bashing anybody. I quote a Black man who I respect and who I've been talking to for years. Simone and I, we've been going back and forth for years. He specifically said to me, that I hope you will answer this question. And then he posed the question to me, and all I'm doing is I'm answering the question. That's all I'm doing. I'm not doing anything but that. And I'm going to close just reiterating what I said before. For individuals who are not revolutionary minded, you really don't need to be mad at them. The only way that a society can work is if the majority of people are not willing to revolt. So what you need to do is focus on those people who want to vie for power. Okay? Focus on those people who do want ultimate power and authority. Because ultimately, everybody else, the majority of people, are going to obey whoever is strong enough to take and maintain power. Do you hear what I'm saying? Do you hear what I'm saying to you? Stop hyper focusing on the people who are like, I don't want to fight for anything. I just want to earn money. I just want to have a car. Just want to live a comfortable life. I'm making enough money. I'm not pressed. Stop focusing on them. The majority of society has to have that kind of mindset, or society won't work. If every single person wants to be a revolutionary, how do you maintain control? Can you imagine? You would never be able to go outside if you had power, because every person you meet is going to be ready to chop your head off and take your spot. So the expectation ought to be that most people do not want to engage in revolution. That should be the expectation. But what I would ask is, just like I am in just like I'm saying to the revolutionary minded people, not to feel pressed by the majority of people's mindset, because in reality, if you are ever able to obtain power and authority over a nation, you want most of your people to not want to overthrow you. Like, that's the goal, right? The goal is that most people will simply live happily under your authority. So why would you ever want to change their mindset? But in the same way that I can say that to a revolutionary minded person, the thing that I'm going to say to those people who are not revolutionary minded is, do not begrudge those who do want to contend for power. Do not be mad at people who do think that they can vie and have a fighting chance at ultimate authority. There's no reason for you to feel some kind of way about us, because you are going to go along with whoever has power. So why do you care what we're doing? Why do you care what we're doing? Why do you care what we talk about? Why do you care what moves we bust? Because if we take over power, if revolutionary minded people have power over the society you live in, you're going to do the same thing for us that you're doing for the current power. And you know what that's going to be? It's cooperate. So we don't have a beef with you. You have said, I am a cooperative person. I will cooperate as long as you will allow me to live a comfortable life. So we have no beef with you. Why do you have a beef with us? Right? You play your position. Your position is to be a regular person in society, simply following the rules and regulations that are put forth by the powers that be. You play your position. We'll play our position. Right? You play your position, we'll play our position. We don't need to beef with each other. We don't need to be divided about this. Divided for what? You and I don't want the same things. We're not on the same page. We're on two different pages. Right? So your concern should not be what people who are looking for socio-political change, your beef, you have no beef with us. If we are successful, all you need to do is continue doing what you're doing now, which is operate peacefully within the society of whoever has power. That's the only thing we need you to do. You stay exactly how you are. Nobody's trying to change you. Trust and believe. And that is really the whole point of this live. That is the whole point of this whole live, right there in a nutshell. I hope that I was able to explain that very clearly. Well, this is what I'll say. Definition of anarchy. Somebody's always going to be in charge. There's always going to be a dynamic of power in any kind of relationship, be that inside of a house, be that in a group of friends, be that in a country or a city or a town or a village. I mean, it's just the way it is. There's always going to be a hierarchy of authority. There's no way that we can live without a hierarchy of authority. People naturally order themselves in a hierarchy of authority, and that's my point. If two CEOs are battling for acquisition of a company, it doesn't mean anything to the employees. You just be ready to do your job when the person who finally acquires the company acquires it. Just be ready to keep doing your job, right? There's no need for the CEOs to feel some kind of way that some people just want to do their job. And there's no reason for the people who are in the mailroom to be concerned about what the CEOs are doing. You just play your position. You play your position, I'll play my position. Okay? We don't need to beef with each other. A lot of these infighting and like debates that we have in the Black community are really irrelevant, right? They're irrelevant. We don't even need to have them. It's a silly argument. There's no reason that people who want ultimate authority and people who don't want any authority need to fight. What are we fighting for? You don't, quite frankly, if I get power, you're just going to obey my rules. So what are we debating about? Your position won't change. You're going to get to live your life just the way you live your life now, in obedience, no matter who's in power. So you don't need to be concerned about what's going on at the top of the food chain. Like, just, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. And I say that not specifically, I want to be clear, to Simone. I say that to the concept, because we fight over this concept and people get in their feelings about the position that people choose to play, and there's just no reason for it. Right? In our country, in America, we have a military. The military makes up a small part of the population. Don't they? The military makes up a small part of the population. We don't expect everybody to be a soldier. We don't have that expectation that every single person in America be a soldier. So why do we have that expectation of in any other situation? Right? Think about that in numbers. There's somewhere around 16%. There's somewhere around like 16 or 26, somewhere between like 16 and 20% of people in the country, right? Who are in some way, shape, or form in the military. So then why do you expect every person you meet to be on your vibe? Most of the people you meet are not going to vibe with overthrowing anything. So I'm going to say this to women, because that's talking about men, because women, we're not about to be fighting anything. That's not even, we're not even the ones that are going to be doing anything, right? I'll say this to women. It is okay for you to choose somebody who is not a revolutionary. It's okay for you to choose somebody that's a provider, but in no way, shape, or form is worried about taking control over systems and things like that. That is okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Most of the men you meet are going to be on that page. You don't need to discount somebody because they don't want to be in the army. You don't need to discount somebody because they don't want to be a Marine, right? That's ridiculous. You can marry somebody who does not want to be a soldier. You don't have to make him feel some kind of way because he doesn't want to be a soldier. It's okay for a man to play his position. As long as he's capable of providing for you through exchanges of power, that's all that really matters. Every woman is not going to be paired with a soldier. So we can stop dragging multitudes of men for not being soldiers. They're not all going to be soldiers, nor should we desire them all to be soldiers. That just is what it is. So with that said, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys were able to take something for this. Were you able to take something for this? I told Simone, I was like, I have to share a conversation because this conversation, it was so good. You know, I love talking to Simone. We do not agree on most things. But you guys know it's not about agreement. It's not about agreement. Right? We have to be able to love each other and vibe with each other without us having, like, if the only way a person could deal with you is to kiss your butt and be in agreement with everything you say, you're going to be a very lonely individual. And you're going to have, you're never going to grow. Right? You're never going to grow. Young Black Gamer said, yeah, also do the Bible battle about what the Bible says about the Jews. Right? I'll say people say they're Jewish by blood. The Bible says people are Jewish based on what's in their heart. Right? So just because somebody's calling themselves a Jew doesn't mean that we have to align ourselves with them or they're a good person. That's ridiculous. Bloodline Jews, that's a nix. The Bible shut that down. So anybody trying to shame you into like the Jews are God's people, well, can you see somebody's heart? Because the Bible didn't say the Jews' bloodline was God's people. The Bible said those who are circumcised in the heart are God's people. Okay? He who is a Jew inwardly, not outwardly. That's what scripture says. I could do a whole Bible battles on those. Y'all aren't going to be backing me up against, you guys know. You can't back me up against any spiritual walls, okay? You cannot, because I have my sword ready and I will chop off heads. So with that said, I'm going to get out of here. I'll talk to you guys later. Yeah, Kaylin, you will have to call in, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this to you, Kaylin, before I go. You lied, and you know that you're a liar when you said that you tried to come up on my panel and I blocked you. You are a liar. Everybody knows I don't care the opinion that anybody has on my panel. And that's why I said, I don't know what you're going through, but the fact that you sat in my chat and you blatantly told a bold-faced lie multiple times, you move funny, okay? You move real funny. And see, you and I, we used to be cool, even though we didn't agree. But when I saw you opening up your virtual mouth to sit and first of all, spam my chat, but second of all, lie, you're a whole liar out here. I don't even know why you would even fix your mouth to try to confront me on scripture when you sat on my panel when you sat not on my panel, but in my chat yesterday, being a liar. You'd never tried to come up. You're not blocked. And had you came up and attempted to get on my panel, I would have let you up. And even people in the chat were calling you out because everybody knows I don't flex like that. I don't fear having a conversation with anybody. Least of all, somebody who can't even tell the truth through a computer. Okay? In the chat. So you've been moving real crooked. You've been moving real funny. Very, very funny. I don't know what's going on with you. It's not okay though. It's not okay. I've always respected you. The little kind of turns and switches that you're making that you tried to pull yesterday, that you're going to have to cut that mess out. You really are, or you're gonna have to like not be in my space, because that kind of behavior is not okay. And all this like flipping the script and stuff, like y'all cannot be weirdos. You know what I mean? Bring yourselves to the table. I will respect whatever position anybody is coming from, but lying, being deceitful, being weird, when I know that I've never wronged anybody in this space, there's only one person on YouTube who could have a beef with me for real, right? And I've already spoken publicly about that. He is the only person that could have a real beef with me, because I said openly on a panel, I drug him for filth. But outside of that, no. Certainly nobody in the chat. Certainly nobody that I've been kind with. If you're going to be a liar, lying on me in my own chat, then you will not be in my chat. You did not try to come up yesterday. You're a coward. You didn't really want to talk to me. And whatever you got going on in your life that's caused you to, start acting like an insane person, fall back from that. Because if you start acting like a psychopath around me, I'm going to think that you're on some weird stuff. And I'm going to have to like remove you out of my space, if for no other reason than I cannot have people who are like mentally unhinged regularly interacting with me, because I'm a woman. I have to be careful. So if you could not act like a weirdo, that would be amazing. And with that said, I'm going to get out of here.